Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. This is Brandon from Free State, Colorado, and I hope you're doing well. Now, this is such an important news story out of Colorado Springs. I don't think it's getting the attention it deserves. And this is a major controversy, folks. And I really feel that if Colorado had better news media, this story would be all over the nightly news. It'd be the front page story on all the newspapers, the few that we still have at least. It really should be a bigger conversation piece. But nonetheless, massive update here to a story I reported on back in December of 2024. You may have seen that video. If not, check it out for all the background. Did the Colorado Springs mayor lie to the FBI? So, without getting too in depth, during the 2023 mayoral election in Colorado Springs, a hate crime hoax was committed to try and get the mayor more sympathy votes and to turn out the black vote and push him over the edge, which maybe it had an effect. He did end up winning. But this hoax, these people got caught and they just got found guilty in a trial. Two of them are now going to be serving sentences due to it, and a third one had admitted guilt back in March of this year. So some of the details are very, very interesting. You got to check it out. Watch that video if you hadn't yet. Of course, all the links at freestatecolorado.com. The one article I want to revisit from last year is this Daily Wire article from November 21st, 2024. Mayor lied in a hate crime hoax probe, but DOJ refused to charge him, FBI official says. I mean, that's huge. That's huge, right? And it was a big story back then, don't get me wrong, but I still think it probably should have been a bigger story. That was the hoax there. So the sign, horrible language on the sign, a burning cross, photo and a video taken. These supporters of Mobolade did this, sent an anonymous email to news media organizations talking about this, got all over social media, talked about that last year. You can learn more about that. But nonetheless, these people got caught. They were very sloppy in what they did. And, don't get me wrong, it's a good thing they got caught. But at the same time, there was a lot of questions back then because the FBI agent basically said that there were dozens of messages between the accused, who's now been convicted of this crime, Bernard, and the now mayor. The mayor was denying contact the whole time, but they had phone records proving that they were in communication before, during it, or before and after this case. I don't know about during. But the official said that Mobolade, FBI official, was scrolling through his phone as a memory aid during the FBI interview, but that he was literally skipping over text messages, not realizing that the Bureau had already obtained them elsewhere. Wow. As a result of Mobolade's conduct in the FBI interviews, the FBI referred the now mayor to the Department of Justice to face charges for making false statements to federal investigators, the official said, but the Justice Department refused. The initial response from the Department of Justice was, "We can't indict the first black mayor of Colorado Springs," the officials said, adding, "In my experience, if anyone had been in that position, they would have been charged with lying to a federal agent." Wow. Instead, the Justice Department arranged for Mobolade to do a third interview. During that interview, most of his answers consisted of "I do not recall." This was contrary to his interview answers from the previous two interviews, where he denied involvement very strongly. So, of course, very interesting there when people change their stories. So that's the history of it. Now, since then, there's been a trial for two of the three that were accused. Like I said, one of them admitted guilt back in March and provided evidence against the other two. And then these two were just recently found guilty here. So this was from May 19th, 2025, not too long ago. Trial begins over staged cross burning in front of campaign sign for black candidate. Now, come on, Aurora Sentinel. I know you're left leaning, but you should probably mention that it's the mayor of Colorado Springs. I think that's a bigger headline there, but you can see there the mayor. So they give you some of the backstory here. You can read through that. But of course, it was a stunt to generate sympathy and support for Yemi. And he said that he was being targeted. But what's really interesting here is somebody who represents Ashley Blackcloud, Britt Cobb, who said, quote, "The cross burning was not a true threat. It was a stunt to draw attention to racism in Colorado Springs and mobilize voters for Mr. Mobolade." Blackcloud, who was just found guilty, has claimed Mobolade himself was a participant in the plan, telling the Associated Press, quote, "This was a hoax in every sense of the word," end quote. She said Mobolade knew in advance about their plans to burn the cross, but Blackcloud would not comment further, citing a court order that bars discussing information in the case before the trial. Blackcloud, who is indigenous and black, said the stunt was not intended to hurt anyone. So, wow. Of course, Mobolade has denied any knowledge of their plans. The second defendant, Blackcloud's husband, Derrick Bernard, who jail records identify as black, is serving a life sentence after being convicted last year of ordering the killing of a rapper in Colorado Springs. Wow. The man charged with carrying out the killing was recently acquitted, but Bernard is appealing his conviction. Wow, interesting. Said Derrick Bernard was not present at the cross burning. He did not plan it. He did not direct it. So interesting there. The fact that Bernard also came out and said that the mayor was involved, I think is extremely interesting there. And that's an important aspect to the story. According to the indictment, Bernard communicated with Mobolade before the cross burning on April 23rd, 2023, and after Mobolade won the election on May 6th, 2023. So there you go. You can read that as well. But one of the bigger stories, of course, that doesn't pull as many punches as the Sentinel does is over here at the Daily Wire. Colorado Springs' first black mayor implicated in hate crime hoax at federal trial. So this is a recent update to that last article from last year. This is from May 29th, 2025. So very, very recent, folks. This is why I wanted to get this out there to you. So you can read the whole thing here, a little bit of what we've already covered. But here we go. At the 5-day trial in federal court for Bernard and his wife, Ashley Blackcloud, that concluded May 23rd, FBI agent Ethan Doherty testified that the mayor falsely denied contact with Bernard, despite records showing the pair was in contact before, the day of the hate crime, and afterward. Doherty testified that when the FBI interviewed the mayor, Mobolade said he was 120% sure he did not have a phone call with Bernard 3 days after the incident, and that Mobolade seemed nervous, according to KOAA. Doherty also revealed that Mobolade began using a new cell phone the day after the hoax. Wow. The FBI's courtroom testimony corroborated Daily Wire reporting from November 2024, which Mobolade denied at the time. Mobolade told the local paper that, quote, politically motivated websites will weigh in with no regard for accuracy and truth, end quote. And his deputy chief of staff told the city council the article was unfounded. So he produced a video in response saying, I did not lie to the FBI, and claiming he had paperwork from the Department of Justice showing he was a victim. But a Justice Department document produced at trial said that Mobolade was at one point under investigation, that the investigation was closed but could be reopened, and that its closure should not be considered an exoneration. Wow. So there they go. They erected that cross. They burned it, as we know. That night, Bernard texted Mobolade, I guarantee the finish, referring to a request from Mobolade to help him get across the finish line. 3 days later, the pair spoke on a phone for 5 minutes. After Mobolade won the runoff, Bernard texted him, we got you through it all, brother. Another time, though, we'll handle business. So interesting stuff there. The fact that two of the people who are convicted of this say that the mayor was involved, very interesting. The fact that the mayor kind of withheld information, changed his cell phone number, changed his story, I think that's all interesting as well. Here we go back to the article. There was evidence that the mayor did not seem to want a thorough investigation into the incident. He waited until the Monday after the news broke to contact the local police chief, whom he told, I don't want to make a big deal about this, according to testimony. After the FBI identified Bernard as a suspect, Mobolade did not tell investigators that he had been in contact with him, testifying at trial that he was waiting for the FBI to take the lead by asking questions, according to KRDO. That seemed to contradict the fact that when the FBI did ask him, he denied the contact. At trial, Mobolade said he didn't recall denying his phone call with Bernard to the FBI until he was presented with a transcript of his FBI interview. Wow. At the time, I was confident, Mobolade testified, according to Colorado Springs Gazette. The Gazette reported that Mobolade appeared flustered as he fielded questions from the defense about the timeline of events and specific details about his communication with Bernard. He often was not able to provide an answer. He could still not explain what the 5-minute phone call was about. Bernard testified that the 5-minute phone call was about the hoax, and that Mobolade promised to squash the story when Bernard expressed concern over backlash, the Gazette reported. The day after the call, KRDO ran a story quoting the Mobolade campaign, asking people not to give the incident any oxygen. At trial, Mobolade acknowledged that he tried to keep the story under wraps at the time, saying he didn't want that to be the story of Colorado Springs, the Gazette reported. Emails obtained by the Daily Wire show that after he became mayor, Mobolade used city employees to deter the local media from picking up the Daily Wire's report that Mobolade had given false information to the FBI. When the Daily Wire notified spokeswoman Vanessa Zink about the allegation that Mobolade lied to the FBI, the mayor's chief of staff, Jamie Fabos, intervened to encourage her to take an ad hominem approach, calling the Wire a bizarre, far-right outlet whose reporters don't actually qualify as journalists. Wow. So there you go, folks. Of course, these government officials don't want to give any credence to any of this, but I don't know. I think there's a lot of questions to be asked here. And the city councilman Dave Donaldson said Zink resigned her job shortly after the trial, though he doesn't know the reason. Wow. So a lot of information there. All the links at freestatecolorado.com, but very, very interesting stuff. I think there's a lot of questions that Mobolade, in my mind, in my opinion, probably did know about the hoax. He probably did lie to the FBI about it. He didn't want to get caught. So interesting stuff. You can read this. There's a lot there, a lot of stuff. And there's a Gazette article as well that just came out. Bernard blames Colorado Springs mayor, other politicians in hate crime hoax trial. So Bernard's the other guy serving a life sentence for ordering the murder of that rapper. And he, against the advice of his attorney, Tyrone Glover, took the stand and claimed that then candidate Yemi Mobolade was behind the plan and that he worked with state rep Regina English, Democrat from Colorado Springs, to set the stage for him to win the election. So, I mean, here we go, folks. You have two of the people who've been convicted of this crime, saying the mayor was involved. The mayor had a lot of shady stuff going on with it. I think this warrants a massive investigation. Bernard, whose testimony differed from that previous witnesses, was questioned about English and claimed some of her election aides were present at an April 23rd, 2023 cross burning that, along with defacing one of Mobolade's campaign signs with a racial slur, led to an indictment alleging a staged hate crime. Wow. At one point, Bernard suggested that supporters of Mobolade's election opponent, Wayne Williams, who is now on one of Mayor Mobolade's advisory boards, may have pulled off the hoax. Who knows? Maybe he did it, Bernard said. Wow. So interesting stuff there. Bernard says he wasn't there, but of course blames the mayor, blames Regina English, and the story continues and continues. But folks, it's interesting stuff. I think there's a really good concern there that the people of Colorado Springs need to be aware of, and I really appreciate you joining me. Again, Brandon from Free State, Colorado. We'll